They say you're never too old to learn, and I think that's true because today you and I are going to learn some things on the public square, some new words and their definitions. I'm Wayne Shepherd here, stepping aside to let Dave Zanotti talk with Alan Duncan, Alan C. Duncan, Rob Walgate, and Jonah Jackson about something I know nothing about. So let's put on our learning caps and join the conversation on the public square. Here's Dave Zanotti.
It's a thought that occurs to every video game player at some point. What if the weird hyper-focused state I enter when playing in virtual worlds could somehow be applied to the real one? This is the question that starts the article from MIT Tech Review. The article is titled, How Gamification Took Over the World. And that headline grabbed my attention, so I had to immediately send it to all the younger people that I know and ask them what it meant. Because the last time I spent all night, it would have been 2 times I spent all night playing video games, is such a long time ago, and the games are so primitive that I'm ashamed and embarrassed to even discuss it. So I'm going to pretend that I've never done this ever in my entire life.
Tell us what the games were now. Can we guess?
I come from the world that when all of you were either not here or in footy pajamas, you actually had to put a quarter down every time you wanted to try to win the top score in Galaga at a truck stop in the middle of the night. Because the arcades were all closed, and so so I
a truck stop.
Yes,
wow.
Yes,
okay.
that's where they all were.
Maybe that's why you don't like video games.
Yeah, the truckers love Galaga.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, I didn't even say it right. It's Galaga. We called it Galaga. So what do we? See, they mock me. They mock me from the start. There is no way to win. I've already lost all credibility. So I will respond with my ultimate. You all are going to be discussing an article that you're reading on paper that I sent you from my phone app. Where I have a subscription to MIT Tech Review.
Because you're a big shot.
I'm big time, and you're right here, boys. So Galaga, Galiga, Galagaga. All right, I got the app and you don't. Okay. So here's what in the world is gamification? I honestly don't know.
Gamification is trying to take your tasks in real life, or as they did refer to in this as the meat space.
Okay, what is that?
Well, you've got the meat space and you've got the cyberspace.
Wait. They spelled it MEAT space.
Yes, like your flesh.
Yeah,
the meat of your body.
I still don't know what we're talking about here.
Real life,
the real world.
Is that a video game about a butcher shop? I'm confused.
That phrase jumped to me. I had not heard it. I knew what they were. I knew what I thought they meant, and I was right, but I hadn't heard the term. So I did a little digging on that. Apparently, this is from...
You mean there's a dictionary for this stuff?
Well, apparently it comes from a sci-fi novel, or maybe even multiple sci-fi novels, to where they are utilizing the term tongue-in-cheek. So you're not supposed to take that... no pun intended.
That took me nowhere. All of a sudden, I'm seeing a slab of beef tongue at the butcher shop that I worked at when I was in high school before there were video games. Okay,
you could also call the butcher shop the meat space.
Okay.
Yeah, let me pull back then. Facetiously, they're using it. Ironically, perhaps that's a better way to say it. But we're now using it for real. We're now really calling the world the meat space. Like, it's from a sci-fi novel that's poking fun at that idea, and we're just using it for real now.
So what does meat space mean? It means the real world?
It means reality.
World.
Yes, reality.
Not the metaverse, not your cyberspace. It's the real world. Us sitting at the table. We are in the meat space.
Yes.
Right now.
Well, and I think this, and maybe we're going to get here. I hope that we get here later on in the conversation.
We haven't even started. I didn't know to get here. I didn't know where we're going.
To me, this bespeaks the problem of why we even think we need to gamify the meat space. It's because we're looking at the real world in such a crude and crass terminology. And so, but I digress. I don't want to jump to the end here. I think we've got a lot more places.
Sorry, I can't resist. Examples, please.
Heard that somewhere before.
Right. Okay. So we're talking about the impact of, at least I thought, the idea of sending this around electronically before some people had to print it out on paper. What I thought I could get is an understanding of why MIT Tech Review, which is sort of like one of the gold standards for how technology interfaces with reality in the world that we live in, which I now understand is the meat space. So I don't know. It's like
that needs to go on the list of banned words here, Ed. I'm not one for banning words, but there's a couple we don't say.
I'm now looking at everything in the room, thinking, what would the butcher shop equivalency be for that light and for this screen? All right. So anyhow, I'm trying to figure out: is this a thing? Is it a generational thing? And is it one more thing that keeps people talking past each other? Because you now will get a chance to guess the two actual video game systems, games that I played all night long and then went to work in the morning years ago, because I've done it too. And it was a home system, and it was a Genesis system.
The Sega Genesis.
It was the Sega Genesis system.
Okay. Were you doing Sonic?
Oh, I did love Sonic on the Sega Genesis.
No,
very good gameplay.
It's prior to Sonic.
Before Sonic.
Just talk among yourselves for a while. All right,
Pac-Man? Do we have a Pac-Man? Was Pac-Man on there?
That was Atari.
No, that was that was
sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they might have had like a later ported version.
Yeah, and
not the
Donkey
original.
Kong. That was
so
Atari too.
what we got to get to the realization is, if the last time you played all night before you went to work in the morning was a Sega Genesis system, then are we actually looking at a world that kids and grandkids and generations to come see so differently that might be part of the reason that our nation is in the trouble that it's in, because we're not even seeing things, let alone talking about things. We're not even seeing things from the same point of view.
It's a completely different lens.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is this?
I do think that's a wise thing to bring up.
That's all I got's a question, so you got to have the answers.
Well, I think it's a wise question. My kids play some video games. I'm fortunate. See, Ethan used to play video games, Minecraft, which I thought that was an okay game, because you're building things and creating things in a 3-dimensional space.
Very tame, all things considered. Yes.
Sure. And so he would play that, but he's become so intrigued in making music and working with Logic that, the program I'm recording this radio broadcast on right now, that all he wants to do is write raps about God and record them. So he's totally
delivered. Thanks be to God.
He's got something else he wants to do, and so he doesn't play the video games that much. And Caleb will do it occasionally.
Your son Rob is into production big time as well.
Well, he likes to edit his videos of wiffle ball
as a professional in the Major League Wiffle Ball world. At the age of 15,
in our backyard, he runs his own league. So the neighbor kid has a drone, so he puts that footage in. So he likes to edit videos on that. He does enjoy a little bit of gaming.
Wait a minute. If for the rare event there's anyone out there who is actually feeling more out of touch than I am right now, your son, of course, at 15 years of age, is a award-winning wiffle ball player in the Major League Wiffle Ball League, which actually exists and is got gazillions of views on YouTube and is a definite up-and-coming societal trend. It's remarkable to watch. It's a throwback to everything old school in a new way, and it's a total delight, absolute delight. And so he's got a wiffle ball field in his backyard, and they film them and put them on, and they have a drone.
Yeah, there's drone. The neighbor kid has a drone, and he was filming the other day with
What's
drone.
next? You're going to bring back Al Michaels or something? I mean,
actually, yes, there is a commentator, and I showed up last week after
AI,
work.
Vin Scully.
There were like 10, 12 kids in my backyard playing. Rachel was cooking, of course, hot dogs on the grill for all the kids.
Nice.
But the young man that was the announcer, Buster, he was in a suit, full suit. He showed up to do the announcing, full suit. I knew you'd like that,
I
Dunk.
do like that.
Yes, he showed up to announce full suit, but but Arj does like a little bit of gaming. Although I will say, shout out to my son, we bought him a gaming system 2 years ago for Christmas, a newer gaming system, and he was like, I don't play enough, I'm going to take it back and just use the old one. So I was
Jonah Jackson, the executive producer of Kids on the Square, also happens to have a secret life in the realm of gaming, but it's at a much more profound and developed level. It's not just the stuff on videos; it's the board games. It's all of this amazing stuff. I actually served on a college board a few years ago in Tennessee. And of the divisions that the College of Entertainment and the Arts had, there was a whole division for the production design of video games and board games and all of these kinds of things.
Well, it is an art form. It truly is. If you look at one of the games popped to my mind, the Legend of Zelda series.
Yes.
Really beautiful graphics, really amazing worlds and gameplay, and the music. Some of this music is fully orchestrally scored, and it's beautiful pieces and themes. That game in particular has very beautiful music.
Yeah, repeating themes throughout for different characters and environments and things. Yeah.
So I think it's worth saying that video games can be a very immersive art form that takes a lot of expertise to pull off.
Yeah, to do it right. Yeah.
So the question I think that we got to take a break. Let's get to the question of how dominant is this language, is this mindset in the meat space of what generations, what ages? In other words, do we even see the world the same way anymore based upon what kind of a controller is in our hands?
Okay, well, that's only the start. Meat space, gamification. I'm taking notes. I hope you are as well. This is The Public Square. We will be back. We're also online at thepublicsquare.com.
Spreading the light of liberty across the land. Now back to the Public Square.
The theme has been set for this edition of the Public Square. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your support of the American Policy Roundtable. Let's return now to Dave and Alan and Jonah and Rob.
Getting back to your question, Dave, on who plays games, what age groups, demographics, I will say this. As a dad in his 40s, some would say the late 40s, I will speak for all dads from their
almost middle-aged
mid 30s to late 40s, maybe early 50s. July 2024 may be the biggest month in years for video game release for my age demographic. Yeah, without a doubt. Everybody's EA Sports College Football is back. It's been off the shelves for years and years and years.
Oh, that's big.
And it's coming back.
I actually played that game on a home system.
Yeah.
And that was my addiction in college.
Now, so it's back.
Yeah.
It's coming back.
Like the NCAA football?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had an argument about money and paying people. And
likenesses.
Of course, yes. So,
oh, wait. And if you play, you get no money? Is that what this is?
Well, now you get compensation for if you're, you can be compensated if you're being used, whereas before you
it's to the players. If I'm going to play this game and I beat you, do I get a nil check?
The players in the game.
Oh, okay.
The college athletes represented in the game will receive
Thanks, Alan, for keeping up. I appreciate it. Thank you.
But I'm sure others have platforms you could wager other people on. Yeah. But we won't get into.
No,
that's a whole. That's another show. But yeah, I think that's one where you talk about who plays. I think a lot of different people play in a lot of different demographics, but they may be playing a lot of different games or a lot of different type of things.
Oh yeah, they're absolutely playing a lot of different things. Well, and by systems and genres, it's going to vary wildly. Your target demographic on, let's say, Xbox and PlayStation type games is going to be way different than the Nintendo demographic. Which always kind of skews younger, to more, kids that are 18 and under, typically, as opposed to the older audience of, some of these other gaming systems that have more advanced graphics. A lot of them are the more mature rated games and things like that. So there's definitely different audiences based on, whatever you're looking at.
Well, to your point, Jonah, about games geared a little bit more towards mature audiences, I've heard Jeff Sanders around this table, who folks know listen to this broadcast, say that Call of Duty World War II, that you could teach someone actually about World War II by playing that game, because his sons, I guess, used to play it. So I actually heard Jeff Sanders say something historically accurate about a video game. I thought that was a remarkable fact.
Rachel Walgate has taught history for 20 years. And in the beginning of her teaching career, I think it was in the beginning of her career anyway, she came home one time and she was like, I thought these kids cheated today on a test. And she called them all to account. She said, I called them up and they just like aced it. And she was like, I couldn't understand it. And I called them. I said, listen, you're not in trouble for cheating, but tell me how you cheated so I can catch the next person. Just let me know so I can get smarter.
So that's a great negotiator.
And they're like, well, she just wants to stay ahead of the game. And they were like, Mrs. Walge, we didn't cheat. She was like, guys, you get like straight D's. And all of a sudden you ace the test. That doesn't work. They said, no. We play, and they named all the video games they play that are war video games. So they knew all the battles. They knew all the maps. They knew everything about it because they played the video games.
Which that highlights the potentiality for using video games for educational purposes. It can be fun, but it can also educate people if it's done in a particular way as well.
But this MIT Tech Review article was basically sort of saying that was a nice idea, but it hasn't worked out that way.
Well, this article, if I understand it correctly, is talking about trying to gamify your real life.
In the meat space.
So playing a video game and learning something from it and then turning it off
that's
and
totally
then going
different.
about your real life, that's one thing, which would be what I would support.
Yeah.
This is talking about trying to, whether through glasses or some other interface, overlay tasks and coins and prizes into your real world, maybe through some sort of glasses or something like that.
So
Or
what
your
was
Apple
that
Watch.
movie
Yes.
that just ran really well with the guy in the blue shirt? What was that movie?
Oh, Free Guy?
Free Guy.
Yeah,
Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, yeah.
With
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, yeah. I watched it because I like Wrexham, so I watched Ryan Reynolds and Free Guy. I think that movie was okay. I don't think there's anything bad in it.
The language is a little worse than I wanted it to be. I was watching with children, so I was particularly attuned to it. I was like, oh, a little worse than I wanted.
So Free Guy would be sort of the actual film version of this article that we're talking about from MIT Tech Review. In other words, what if you couldn't blur the lines any longer? Or, well, what if there were no lines? What if we were able to put on a pair of glasses and it changed the way that you saw everything in the reality of where you were, and it was controlled by people who were designing video games? I kind of think that's exactly what MIT is talking about, right? Which then I'm instantly thinking, my goodness, didn't I just see a commercial on that from Meta? I mean, is that what they're doing when they're putting all these things on your face and that's it?
But they want to create a utopia in that perfect world that you can turn on and off and go to and feel happy. And the real world isn't like that. But then when you're doing that as well, they would want you to spend $125 on tennis shoes you can't actually wear, but you can buy them to own them because they're a collector item.
You have the NFT of the tennis shoes.
But that is what this article from MIT is saying has not worked. They aren't advocating this in this piece. They're saying it was tried, and they have a bunch of game designers themselves that are quoted throughout this piece saying, we tried this and it's not really working out so well. I thought one of the fascinating pieces of information they have in here was that one of the reasons that it doesn't work is because they miss the point of a game.
Is to have fun.
To have fun. Yeah, and it's not fun. The point of the game
a chore.
Isn't to just get points. The point of a game is to have fun. Maybe to be transported briefly to another world, imaginary, and then you're going to come back. So the way that they're trying to do these tasks with, to your point, Jonah, like your Apple Watch, maybe you're doing a Fitbit. Let me get my steps. Let me do this. It's not actually that fun.
No, it's a way to track your chores. It's not actually a fun activity or something to take you out of whatever is going on in real life or any kind of distraction. It's here's a little fun fireworks graphic because you walked 10,000 steps.
Yeah, which reminds me of one of those games I played all night and finally won, then had to go to work in the morning. I got a one screen, 10 seconds.
What are you playing, Mario?
Mario.
And then I was like, that's it? I stayed up all night for that? I mean, that was all that I got? Okay. You got a chart over there, though, about that surprised me in regards to the numbers.
It surprised me, too. We're talking about how many people play video games. So imagine a pie chart in your mind. Cut it into fourths. Video games has 3/4 of the pie chart. Music and movies split the other piece of pie. That's how dominant.
That's in annual revenue in dollars, right? That's expenditures.
That's amounts in billion US dollars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Billions of dollars.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
In
billions
2023.
of dollars
So this is
in
recent.
2023, video games eclipsed. Video games took 75% of the pie.
Yep.
Yes.
Movies and music got 12% or so each.
Yep.
In terms of money made, yes.
Wow.
Yep. And a lot of that comes from things like microtransactions in video games, where maybe something is free to play or is cheap itself, but then there are other ways for you to spend money within the game, little bit by little bit, gradually getting new little pieces. Oh, here's a fun little thing. Oh, I need more coins to make this thing go faster. This is a tactic that's in a lot of video games right now. These microtransactions. A lot of it is basically gambling,
Especially for young kids.
especially for young kids.
When you look at games, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably don't know all of them, but like Roblox, and there's some others.
you get your Robux.
Get Robux. So, and you can buy things. And alls I know is, as the parent of young children who get invited to way too many birthday parties. When did we start celebrating birth? I think we celebrate half birthdays in this country now. It makes no sense to me. Like
so many more birthday parties.
My goodness, what are we doing? Anyway, okay, this is another tangent. But the request for gifts always is like, oh, we need to get them. We're buying gift cards to these apps and to these games. That's what the kids want. That's what they want as a gift. So because their parents are sick of doling out dollars.
No, they're not going to buy it. There's if you get it as a gift, that's fine, but I'm not going to buy it.
So you get the Robux. Yes, that's what it is, the Robux.
I just tell my kids, no, you can't buy anything.
Well, I do as well.
Yes,
but then
well, there you go.
Get off my lawn.
No, I let my kids play some games, but Caleb has to play, if he wants to play a game that's on my phone, he has to play it on airplane mode so that he can't buy anything and the ads are less. So yeah, there's some little tiny hacks you can try to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it certainly does behoove parents to learn something about this.
Does this create people playing games singularly as opposed to with other people? Is this a more singular experience?
Not necessarily.
Depends.
Maybe playing with more strangers.
Yeah, so some of it's online
Wait a
stuff.
minute, I thought we taught kids that strangers weren't like, don't go with strangers. What are we doing here?
Sometimes kids will join groups and play.
Is that safe?
Play together online.
No.
I mean, well, I think if you know
unless
the
you
people,
control their environment.
I'm sure there are ways to create servers or,
like a private server
a
kind
private
of thing.
server. I don't know that everybody does that, but I think there's ways it could be safer.
So a kid could just wander out into if this is the Meatverse, what is that thing? The metaverse?
Cyberspace.
Yeah, it's like cyberspace. Kind of thing,
Okay, so they could wander out into cyberspace and be in a game with 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 people around the world?
Yeah.
Sure, that's possible.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. No, if you hop into, some kind of, let's say like a Call of Duty type game or some other equivalent. I don't know. I'm not super up to date on Call of Duty games. So I don't know if there's a recent one, but let's say you go into like an online matchmaking thing where you're like, I don't have somebody, that's with me or that I know that I'm going to play with. So but I want to, play with people rather than just the computer. You hop on to the, online matchmaking and it's, you'll have like 2 teams of 8 people, and they just kind of split you up arbitrarily. And then, you will be, on like a voice chat or what have you with these people who you've just been randomly matched up with on this team.
A wildly speculative question because I didn't see it at all in the article. But recently we did a program on the amount of hours that the average American teenager spends on screen, not including time in school and not including watching television. Just as the on-screen time, and it came out to 70 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And this was done through Brigham Young University. It's a very credible study. So are you telling me that is this, the time that kids are spending, would this be part of what they're spending that 70 hours a week doing?
I'd say, I would say absolutely.
Probably the vast majority of it.
Yeah, probably most of it. More so than just watching. I mean, they might watch some, but I'd say a lot of that screen time is probably gaming time. Kids are on like League of Legends or, there's so many. And a lot of these are like the online multiplayer type things where, either you can play with your friends online and you have a chat via, whatever app. Then you're playing it together, or you're just getting matched up with, strangers, with each match kind of thing.
That's Jonah Jackson, best known around here for Kids on the Square. And if you'd like to learn more about that, just contact us at thepublicsquare.com. All right, this conversation will continue here and online at thepublicsquare.com.
Have you had a chance to listen to the Kids on the Square episode, The Sit-In? Join us for discoveries.
Did you hear about the college students in Greensboro?
No.
4 black college students, just like me, sat at Woolworth's diner.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't leave until they were served.
A behind-the-scenes look at a new book called The Front Steps.
And so I think that just kind of slamming those two emotions against each other in this book just makes it very interesting and powerful for me.
And laughs.
What do I do now? I guess I could go upstairs and read my library book again. Yeah, I'll go up a few and stare at the ceiling.
Kids on the Square aims to bless, encourage, and educate the next generation of American children by creating resources for families to connect and communicate in this digital era. So what are you waiting for? Grab a friend, share this episode with your family, and join us today at Kids on the Square.
Spreading the light of liberty across the land. Now back to the public square.
I told you we learned some things today in the public square, didn't I? Let's return to the conversation between Dave Zanotti, Alan C. Duncan, Rob Walgate, and Jonah Jackson. And I can tell that Dave has something up that short sleeve shirt of his, so let's go back to the conversation.
Kids will be kids. There'll always be a new hula hoop. Isn't this just the new hula hoop? Oh, do I need to explain what a hula hoop was?
No.
Yeah, it came before the Frisbee. Okay.
Yeah, that hula hoop.
You guys were big fans of circles back then.
we love the circle. You hear about this thing? They just came out with it.
It's the wheel.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say, the inventor of the Ferris wheel and the inventor of the merry-go-round, they never met each other. They ran in different circles. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm cutting that, Rob.
No! Don't cut that!
All right, fine. I'll do that.
So this is much ado about nothing. We've wasted an entire broadcast of the public square talking about something that is completely irrelevant to America, to public policy, to conscience and values.
No, I disagree. I disagree because the hula hoop, I've never seen anyone stand out there for 10 hours in hula hoop and become so addicted to it that it's consumed every aspect of their life. I walk in schools or restaurants or anywhere else. We're all, I can speak to myself. I'm addicted to this stupid piece of technology that I put in my pocket. And when I watch young people, it happen to them. You see how it sucks them in. We've seen the social dilemma. Yeah. We've talked to leading experts about what this technology does to our brains, does to our kids. It's scary, and I think it's detrimental in the long run. And I do think, maybe I'm crazy for thinking this, just like many of my parents' generation smoked, I feel like my generation has kind of walked away from cigarettes. I think it's going to be similar in the smartphone era. I really do.
So are we talking specifically about gaming, or are we talking smartphones and the other things that are on smartphones? I feel like we're kind of combining the two.
Well, I think that gaming is its own thing separate from the smartphone, because I think that there are aspects of the gamification conversation that have been kind of loaded into the smart devices and all of that, the kind of notifications, goals, things like that.
Right.
But specifically making it in a sort of gaming context is its own can of worms, I think, separate even from the smartphones and devices.
Sure, because there's obviously games you can play on a smartphone, but there's also a lot of other things you can do on it. I'll just share one anecdote. Again, this is anecdotal just from my family. I played a lot of college football video games, a lot of NFL football video games through college and right out of college, to the point where my wife and I would have arguments in our first year of marriage about how much video game play I was doing with these college football games. To the point that I unhooked it one day and put the system out in front of the door in the midst of a fight. I haven't played a video game in, I don't know, except maybe a little bit with my kids in 15 years. And here's why. Because my real life became much more exciting than a video game. And I think that's the key to some of this. When you have things in your meat space life, which after this program, I will never say that word again.
It's on the banned words list.
Yeah,
We just got a new banned word here on the public square. This is
We
excellent.
do need to bring back the quote board and the banned word.
And the banned word. Yeah, we do.
we do. And I'm not banned word guy, but this one I do not. I think it's so antithetical to reality. I don't want to say it. But as I've had goals in my real life that I want to accomplish, I've become a father. I've written books. I've worked on this radio broadcast.
Get a great dog.
Get a dog. Yes. Forming new friendships, having something to do with meaningful work that you want to do. Video games just faded into the background naturally. And I have seen this happen with Ethan as he's 13 now. Like I said, he used to play Minecraft. He hasn't touched video games in probably 2 years because he has things in IRL, in real life, that he wants to accomplish and that he wants to achieve. And again, I know there are people who play video games as just part of a hobby and they enjoy it and they have other things they accomplish in life too. I'm not saying not to play them, but I've seen video games fade to the background as real life has become more important and cooler.
So the purpose of this article is basically trying to say, guess what? It didn't work.
Right.
Yeah.
The idea that gamification was going to become a new methodology of processing reality, IRL,
in real life.
In real life.
Just using the common parlance.
Okay, so then the first thing that jumps to my mind is an example. Therefore, that's why the absolute stupidity of self-checkout at the grocery store is a failed model that companies are trying now to figure out how they get away from because it's just too stupid.
Inevitably, someone always has to come over and help me anyway. So
that's true. There's always something. Oh, this thing didn't scan right, or it's giving me some. There's always a problem.
I went to a 1973 video doing research for Christmas in America, and I got a grocery store literal interview going on during a grocery store checkout in 1973. There was the old punch in tan brown, barely electronic cash register where you clicked it in with two fingers. One guy's punching it in. The other guy, two guys, all right, in line. The guy's picking it up, reading the number to him, and putting it in the box or the bag. And they're doing it together. And I thought to myself, that's 4 times faster and more reliable than what we're doing now in the video game system of checking out yourself.
You know who still has that cash register? Ashland, Ohio. Grandpa's Cheese Barn, Sweetie's Chocolates.
Is that right?
They still have the old school register.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Someone does always have to help you anyway, but that leads me to another question, another point when it comes to that. And is it for a different show and maybe a policy issue? But why is it when I watch people buy alcohol on those things, self-checkout, someone has to come help you enter your thing, but yet the lottery terminal right over there, there's never an age verification. And you just go over and buy lottery tickets. Whenever you want. You don't have to verify your age, but that's another show for another day.
I never thought about that.
I've always wondered that.
Never thought about that, but you're absolutely right. It's just the terminal, yeah.
Next question, does this mean that goofy set of goggles that Facebook Meta has been trying to sell us for all this time is basically going to prove out to be as dumb, unworkable, and a big a financial bust as some of us hoped for?
It's got to.
I have a confession to make when it comes to the VR goggles.
Oh.
That's what those are called. Okay.
I've
IRL. Yeah.
no, VR. I've done searches on like YouTube and X. Do you ever look up like VR disasters or goggle disasters and look for
is this people
TVs
who are like doing it, they smash something,
they go into walls,
they fall over.
Yes. Oh, there's some great ones out. Like people get hurt bad.
Oh yeah,
like really
what
bad.
What should scare us more, the people getting hurt or those that say
that like to
did
watch
you
it?
See this one?
Yeah.
Oh,
there's like
right
a zombie
off the cliff. Go on.
There's a zombie chasing somebody and they like run into their living room.
No doubt. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. I wonder if those glasses are going to end up being used for specific functions. I would love to try them with editing because I've seen some ideas of how people could use them to edit audio or video. You could zoom in and see it really close in front of you, make a fine-tune edit, zoom it back out. I'd love to try it for my work application.
You want to do the broadcast like Tony Stark?
Yeah, I think that'd be so cool. Or Minority Report, I think that could have some interesting applications in that kind of a setting. But I don't know if it's going to take over. First of all, they're just so expensive.
Yeah, I think there's a cost prohibitive thing first and foremost.
They're about what, $3,500 just out out the door right now.
Much. So it doesn't make sense for your day-to-day person. I think it's something where the idea, what they want would be to sell it to everybody, but I don't know if it's something where there'd be enough people who want to be that plugged in and then also just have the means to do it.
I'll tease the next question. Okay, give you a warm up on the next question that's coming. How do the video games that you played compare to the video games that you anticipate your kids will be playing 2 or 3 years from now?
All right, thanks, Dave, for that heads up for what's to come here on the Public Square. We'll talk about the trends next. Here's you stay with us. And thanks for your support of the American Policy Roundtable and the website, thepublicsquare.com, and also aproundtable.org. Check them out. Great conversation today on the Public Square about youth culture and its impact. Let's take a turn and talk about where we're going next. This conversation will also be archived online, of course, at thepublicsquare.com. All right, back to Dave Zanotti.
There's a question on the table. What you did, what you see now, what you think they'll be at 2 or 3 years from now. What's the trend, and is there a threat? Or is it exciting? What do you see?
I know that my wife and I have had conversations of, for our son Jasper, we have had talks of if he plays any video games, if he has any interest in that, he will only be playing them as long as we have, control over that. Obviously, if you go over to a friend's house, other situations where you don't have total control in that area. But as far as what we would be providing, it is only things like that I have left over as my game systems from high school and college, like an old DS Nintendo system or things like that. It will not be whatever the newest system with the most advanced anything like that. And it's kind of similar to how we're approaching things like television and cartoons. Like we want to have appreciation for things that came before rather than only seeing whatever the most advanced high-tech thing that is the most attention-grabbing and overstimulating is.
That's really good.
All the backers of Melmo appreciate hearing that. So,
Mama loves you.
Yes.
No, I mean, video games for me as a kid.
Okay.
Copyright considered.
That's right. Okay.
Video, I can remember I was probably 8, 9 years old, Garden City Beach, South Carolina, going to the pier. They had a big arcade. We stood in lines to play. That's right about the time Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, I think, came out. Standing in line to play that. And obviously that is vastly different from games that my children play. My kids don't play a ton of games. My son has played a little bit of Fortnite, only as something he's done with his buddies, and they do together, and they can hook up online together. He's just not into games a ton, and I think I'm shocked. I feel like my generation more played, as Alan referenced. I mean, we played a lot of Madden, a lot of EA Sports, college football, a lot of sports games, where maybe it's because these kids play 8 million games themselves of sports that they don't want to play them in a video world.
But wait a second. 2023 revenue music and film eclipsed 75% to 25%.
Part of this might be that music isn't really sold anymore. That could be
or it's sold for $1.29.
Well, in movies,
the videos on streaming.
Yeah, everything's on streaming. So music and movies have gone to a streaming service.
Okay.
Is there? I'm sure there's some sort of a subscription service with gaming as well. But
there certainly are. There's things like the Gold Pass and on the Xbox and other things where you sort of have a monthly subscription to a video game library sort of thing, and that's actually the direction a lot of I think that the game developers are like trying to go as far as Microsoft and Sony. Those are things that they have and that they push is that you have this monthly subscription thing as opposed to buying individual games. But I think that there's a combination of like you do have, and anytime you're buying a new video game that's is sort of a AAA like major title, that's $60 at least.
You're buying it.
Yeah, you're buying it.
Whereas if a new artist comes out and even want to buy their album because you just heard it on Spotify,
Right.
you're going to buy it for $12.
Right, yeah.
Tops. Yeah.
So each video game that comes out, if you're buying that video game, you're brand new, that's $60. You might have, things like if you want to play online on any of these different systems to play with your friends or what have you, you've got to have essentially a subscription to the online service to get on there. And that's, $5+ a month, depending on whatever you're doing. You might have the subscription to the Game Pass sort of things where you've got access to the whole video game library that's $10 a month or whatever it is. And then again, it's the microtransactions and things like a Fortnite, like the Roblox, any of these.
You're buying clothes for your character to wear.
Yes, or you're unlocking new
weapons.
supplies or weapons or whatever the thing is. A lot of cosmetic things that really you don't have to play the game, but it's sort of a status thing. But a lot of them are in these sort of loot crate formats where essentially, yes.
Loot crate.
Loot crate, yes. So it's
Spell that.
L-O-O-T.
Oh, loot crate.
Loot,
Okay.
like pirate booty.
Booty.
Yes.
Matey. Got
Yes.
it. Okay.
But the loot crates are basically, kind of a gambling format because you pay whatever amount of digital coins or what have you, and you have a chance to get whatever the item or character or whatever it is that you're looking for in the loot crate. And you may or may not get it.
Question. Have the gambling companies figured out how to get a piece of this action?
I think they've figured out a way to try and hook the kids early. I talked about going to the arcade when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, and we went, and the joy was trying to beat the game. We go to that same pier and arcade every summer, and the difference is all the little kids now leave with 8 million tickets to redeem for prizes, and that's the thing. It's an unfortunate reality, and you can see some of them enjoy the game, but you see the ones that got a little bit of the bug in them, and they're like, "Oh man, we're going to spend another $100 to win a $3 prize," and you're like, "Slow down a minute here, like." This is not good.
Oh yeah, we were just at the Hotel Breakers at Cedar Point. You go in the little arcade there in the hotel on a rainy day or what have you. You go to get your coins to play the games, and it's all on cards too. You put your card in there to play the game, but you got some of these. It's not even a game. It's essentially a slot machine. You put your thing in to pay your credits. You pull the little lever, and the wheel spins, and it tells you how many tickets you got. And that's the game. Air quotes. Is just pulling the slot.
Well, the claw game is nothing but straight gambling. Think about it. The claw game, you're putting in a few dollars to try and win an Apple iPhone.
Unless you're my son, who has been systematically banned from every midway in America because he has the unusual gift.
He's got the touch.
If you let him watch it 3 times, he's going to win the prize.
I've seen it.
That's cool.
You have to rent a U-Haul to be able to get the stuffed animals.
To get the loot.
Out from, he takes a 2-day visit to a theme park.
But why is he permitted to be banned? How is that legal? That means they only allow suckers to play in the game. It's just like counting cards at the casino. Why are you allowed to ban those people? You've created a game that they can beat, so you're not allowed to participate. That's crazy to me.
The house always wins.
So is there any financial connection between the gambling industry at any level, whether it's the sports gaming industry or the casino industry, the properties controls, publicly traded corporations, and the video game systems?
There may be a connection on the back end somewhere of I know there's some.
Somebody out there who knows the answer to that, we're open. I wonder if there is.
Well, one thing we do know based on this MIT piece that you shared around, Dave, is that they say in this article, or they're quoting someone that says that gamification is about checking in.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being tracked and becoming more regimented. It's a surveillance and discipline system, a wolf in sheep's clothing. So they're talking about this as it's one other way for these corporations to track you, to sell your data, to get information about you.
I wondered about that.
Yeah.
So there is a way, there is a portal whereby they get you, and then they use you. So do you have to do like a privacy agreement or something when you go into the game to play?
I'm pretty sure everything like that has some sort of thing. You just
Yeah,
probably,
so you
just click it. You
just
don't
click,
read
I
it.
accept, and the next thing you know, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's things. Yeah, it's the carrot and the stick of there's either rewards or there are like punishments, so to speak, in terms of if you're getting on This is just the most recent example I can think of in something like this. You get on Duolingo. I'm trying to learn Spanish. I get on Duolingo, and there's the happy little green owl that's like, oh, congratulations, amigo. You're learning Spanish. And if you are staying on top of it, the owl stays happy. But then if you miss days or you haven't, checked in to do your, 15 minutes daily, the owl is like slowly dying.
You're going to kill the owl.
You're going to kill the owl by not learning your Spanish.
You molted the owl to death.
You see just a little pile of bird bones.
Not doing your homework.
Keeping up with your homework.
That is dark. Wow.
I saw it on my wife's phone, and I said, "Are you kidding me? Is the owl dying? What's happening?"
Oh my!
But yeah, you're being punished for not checking in and doing your task.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do by circulating this piece was, first off, to expose the idea that someone was saying that the idea of changing the world according to video games was attempted and failed. But my real question is, are they still changing the world anyhow because they're changing the way our kids think? Is that a real threat?
We're always asking the deeper question here on The Public Square, and the team will respond to Dave's question coming up in the final segment of our program. If you have to leave us at this time, you can always catch up online at thepublicsquare.com.
Spreading the light of liberty across the land. Now back to the Public Square.
It's been a very enlightening conversation today here on the Public Square, and there's one more segment to come, so let's return to the team now. Here's Alan.
Dave, you talked about how we're viewing the world, how we might come to view the world in the future. I think we should look at how we're viewing the world now, how we viewed it in the past. There's a line in this article that says this, but it also spoke to gamification's foundational premise, the idea that reality is somehow broken. So they're saying they wanted to change the way we saw the world because they viewed the world as a broken place. We're coming at this conversation from a Christian perspective.
Well, that's a huge philosophical statement they just talked about.
It is. And I would have to agree. The world is a broken place. But the only thing that we would differ in is how it gets fixed again. And whether or not it's also imbued with inherent meaning and goodness as well as being a broken and fallen place. C.S. Lewis, we talk about him a lot on this broadcast. He's one of the 7 authors of the library upstairs. One of his most famous, perhaps his most famous book, at least during his lifetime, was the Screwtape Letters. It's these conversations written back and forth, these letters between demons.
Certainly his most infamous book.
Sure. I think that's the book that got him on the cover of Time magazine during his lifetime. And it's demons writing back and forth about how they're going to keep the human that they're supposed to drag to hell, how they're going to trick him. And so Screwtape, the main demon, says, keep pressing home on him, the guy you're trying to drag to hell. Keep pressing home on him the ordinariness of things. Convince him that the world that he lives in is ordinary. Nothing to see here. Nothing supernatural, nothing beautiful, nothing great. Everything is humdrum. And that's the big demonic satanic attack. And I think we're seeing it manifest in the need. You must be seeing the world wrong if you think you need to have badges and carrots and icons over your world. Because the world is a broken but beautiful, marvelous place created by God, with amazing things to really achieve in meat space already. So I think the more that we see that and the more that we recognize that, the less these types of things will have a pull on us.
Yeah. We don't have to have that digital layer over everything to make it interesting or worthy to live in.
Right. You're living in an adventure, a cosmic battle between good and evil right now. You don't need a fake dragon. You have a real one.
You do, but I'll make the connection a little bit. I think social media has played into this gaming as well, in the sense that social media has allowed people to live that not in reality life.
Yes, in the old day, we call that vicarious.
Yeah. I mean, everyone puts on the most glamorous or everything bold. And I feel like that's made it gaming as well, in the sense of not living in reality. And I agree with you, Alan. We have the real dragon. We have all these things.
But the essence of the godless equation is that it nets out meaninglessness. Meaninglessness then requires distraction, because we all desire meaning.
Yes.
And if we get distracted enough, we can never get to real meaning because we habituate to the distraction.
Well, and this even goes beyond distraction. They're trying to advocate for a fictional meaning. They're trying to layer on top of this a meaning of their own making. But in doing so, they're missing the meaning that God has already placed into reality.
So this is about mind control.
Yeah, controlling behavior, controlling minds.
By defining reality and then creating a powerful addictive mechanism.
Yeah, the way that you think, the habits that you form.
So there is both danger and threat here. I mean, where there is smoke, there is fire, and this is getting pretty smoky. Yet I think that a person of faith, listening to, in fact, anyone of concern listening to your conversations and your experiences, says, but wait a second, reality by far prevails. And that the gaming industry seems to be acknowledging within its own context and its own critics, saying we can't get there. You know, we're running out of bullets here.
Oh yeah,
or badges, or whatever it might be. So my question is, another question that came up in the midst of all this was the terminology was the God mode, and I thought, wow. Well, first off, I love that terminology, because I see a lot of people, particularly in the political world, walking around and thinking, now I know they must be in God mode right now.
At least they think they are.
Yeah, they're definitely prevailing upon all reality. So what, I probably don't have it right, but what is God mode? Jonah?
Sure. So the God mode, if you were playing a video game, is essentially, if you're doing this, probably to get into the nitty gritty, probably on like a PC sort of gaming computer rather than a console sort of thing, because you're able to input more, key commands, cheat codes, basically things to control the game. And so one thing that you could do would be
this is one of those people sitting in a gigantic chair they spent $1,000 for, with all kinds of sound systems surrounding them, headphones, goggles, and gloves, and this is.
Could be, but you could also just have it on, if you've got a high functioning laptop, you could just have it on that, because it's just a matter of inputting some key commands. There's nothing, really anybody who's, interested in that and has a computer that could do that sort of thing to run a game.
Antiquated illustration.
No, you're fine.
I apologize.
You can certainly.
I was probably from a movie in the 90s I watched.
That sounded like Dennis Nedry or someone from Jurassic Park.
Right, yeah, the guy in the chair. It could be the guy in the chair, or it could just be somebody on their laptop. But essentially, it would be you just input a series of key commands that would allow you to change whatever you want about it, do whatever you want. If you want to import other assets into the game, as far as different characters or things, or you could do things like I can make myself run super fast across the map, or jump as high as I want to. You can basically
you have godlike powers.
Want. Yes, you have godlike powers. You can do whatever you want, and you can form the game to your will.
Up, what is it, Dunk? Up, down, down.
Oh, up, down, left, right, BA, select, start. Everybody who knows, they know.
Yeah.
And if you don't,
you don't.
If you don't, you don't.
Look it up.
I was out-godded by both of you at the same time.
Hey, here's the other thing. We talked about the Christian worldview as it relates to this concept. Christianity has long had a concept of God mode. The Orthodox call it theosis. It is the process of becoming more Christ-like. It is the process whereby you become united with God through his death and resurrection. It's maybe evangelicals will talk about it as being filled with the Holy Spirit. You receive the fruits of the Holy Spirit when you're in relationship with God: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. These are all upgrades to the human condition. These truly are. And so once again, you have in real life, if you're pursuing those upgrades in your life, you don't necessarily need a fictionalized version of them overlaid on top of you. Because again, we have, first of all, the God man, the God mode has already been here, and he invites us to be like him. And that's the ultimate adventure.
Amen to that. What a helpful conversation today on the Public Square. Thank you, Alan. And thanks to all the guys, Dave Zanotti, Rob Walgate, Jonah Jackson, and Alan C. Duncan here on the Public Square. And wouldn't you like to share what you've just heard with someone else? Why don't you use the smartphone app, The Public Square, or the website, thepublicsquare.com, and share this program with someone you think needs to hear it. So thanks for listening, and thanks for your support of the Public Square.
The Public Square is a broadcast service of the American Policy Roundtable.